Hey everybody, and welcome back to another Borderlands 4 video. And today we're taking a look at vaults. So vaults in Borderlands 4 are essentially little mini dungeons with some combat arenas and a boss at the end, as well as an actual meta progression upgrade that will be key for your character moving forward. Before we get into the actual boss fight, let's take a look at the combat arenas that you can expect inside of these vaults. Now, the combat arenas really aren't too much to really speak of. It's going to be filled with a lot of enemies that by this point in the game, you're pretty accustomed to actually fighting. We got kind of thrown in, so it was definitely a little bit jarring going from level 5 to level 20 content, but we managed to adapt and get through these combat arenas. While you're fighting through these combat arenas, they will spawn sort of like a, not really a boss, but more of like a super badass that you're going to have to fight. You do that 3 times and get to the combat arenas, and you'll be able to then fight the boss. Now, the loot inside of the combat arenas actually is pretty good as well. I want to make a small little note on that. While I was fighting through, you do end up fighting a lot of badass and super badass enemies, and those type of enemies actually do drop high quality loot now, so you actually feel kind of rewarded for going through these sort of arenas, not just the boss itself. Speaking on the actual boss, let's take a look at the boss Primordial Guardian Inceptus. Now, the Primordial Guardian has a lot going on with him, so let's go ahead and take it down piece by piece. First up, let's talk about the actual arena. The actual arena inside of here is just a big old circle, and around the edges of the circle, you're also going to notice little flashes of light. Those flashes of light can actually be walked over in order to get ammo for your character. In addition, there's going to be a lot of little mini enemies for you to fight. These adds are not really, I would say, threatening in any sort of fashion. They don't really do a whole lot. Their damage is pretty low. They're more of there for you to be able to proc kill skills as well as be able to get easy second wins. And I never really found it too difficult to be able to kill any of the enemies, even though they were like on the other side of the map sometimes when I end up getting downed. Going into the actual boss fight itself, the boss does have a couple of mechanics. So first up, you'll notice that there are a bunch of grapple points on top of the boss. I believe there are 4 in total, and these grapple points can be hit in order to reveal a sort of weak spot for the boss itself. You'll be able to rip these off and then be able to deal critical damage. And after a little bit of time, those weak spots will eventually just cover themselves back up, and you'll have to grapple them again. Now, you can still shoot while grappling, so you don't really lose any time to just constantly keep grappling these things. So it felt really nice for you to be able to just like keep revealing the weak spots and things like that. Despite the fact that I was constantly grappling it, it didn't feel like it was getting annoying to grapple due to the fact that you can shoot and grapple at the same time. Now, the attacks for the boss itself are actually pretty well done. Borderlands 4, in terms of its boss fights, are going to go for more of active dodging rather than trying to just tank the attack and sort of leech your way back up. Inside of Borderlands 2, we all know it was basically you just hit the boss and the boss hits you and just sort of trade back and forth until the fight is eventually over. Inside of Borderlands 4, you're definitely going to be using more active dodging. The boss itself is able to sweep the ground, which you will then double jump to completely avoid the attack. In addition, it's got a sort of grapple attack that it can do on you, which is actually telegraphed by its tail lighting up, and if you dash to the left or right with good timing, you'll completely ignore the attack itself. If not, it'll grapple you towards it and then slam you into the ground. I like the fact that the boss itself is more active dodging rather than trying to just sort of play stat stick with the boss. And from that aspect, it is very nice. Now, that said, you can still very easily stat stick your way through the boss. We ended up finding some pretty good gear to where I didn't even have to try to dodge because my gear was just so strong and he couldn't even break my shield in time before I ended up downing him. So there's definitely that aspect as well, but that probably won't be possible in the later difficulties, as this is only level 20 content. I wouldn't expect that to work in the later game. After some time, the boss itself will also have a very special attack. It's got 2 different variants. It will move to the very center of the room onto the ceiling and start spitting out different acid pools around the map. Obviously, all you have to do is just look at where the acid is falling and don't step in it. Now, for the second phase, it will actually go into a little bit of a cocoon. While inside this cocoon, the entire floor is now completely covered in poison. You'll need to look up and actually grapple the points, or you're going to end up dying on the ground very quickly. But the grapple points aren't too bad. You grapple onto them and you end up sort of sitting on this like temporary platform that will slowly sink back down into the ground. And you'll need to just keep moving from platform to platform while you actually shoot the sort of weak spot on the top of the cocoon. If you manage to actually destroy the cocoon while it's still doing all of its attacks, you'll stun the boss and be able to get back into it. After some time, if you don't end up destroying it, the fight will just continue as normal. And it just sort of cycles between these sort of dodging the variety of attacks that the boss has, as well as the cocoon phase itself. Overall, not a very difficult boss, and we were able to farm it up quite a bit. It was honestly one of my favorite just sort of like regular bosses, you know? It's very rare to actually find bosses inside of Borderlands that are actually just sort of fun to actually fight. So once you actually learn the fight, you start dodging all the attacks, you're able to farm it up pretty consistently. As we were getting more and more time with it, we were able to get our kill times down even faster and faster. Once you end up fighting the boss itself, you will be sort of brought to this like little area afterwards where you will get a little bit of a meta progression upgrade for your character, and this is going to make things so much better. So fighting this boss in particular sort of it gave you a permanent stamina regen. Borderlands 4 is moving to more of a stamina system with dodging and double jumping. This one ended up giving us, I'd say, nearly double the stamina regen, and I imagine that more bosses are going to be coming out to where we're going to be able to have extended stamina and various other meta progressions for our characters. There's also a couple of red chests for us to loot through. The loot was sometimes pretty good, sometimes not so great, but you are able to actually collect those guns, and then after you fight the boss, you just leave through the other portal and you get dropped right in front of not only a vending machine to sell off all of your trash, an ammo machine to refill yourself, you also get dropped right in front of the Moxie respawn system. This new system allows you to just pay a small fee, which the fee isn't even really that bad. The amount that you make by just selling the guns from the red chest makes up for the fee that you spend to respawn the boss. So once you do that, you're pretty much good to go. You just run up, respawn the boss, and walk in. Now, if you respawn the boss, you do not actually have to go through the entire arena again. That's right, no saving and quitting, going through an entire arena just so that you can fight the boss at the end and be disappointed. Now you get to your disappointment immediately and jump right back into the boss fight and search for those legendaries. Now, the boss itself, let's say the loot from the boss is not very good. I'll just go ahead and be blunt with it. The boss itself does not drop very high quality loot. What you're mostly farming these bosses for is their unique legendaries. And I kind of like that system a lot more in Borderlands 4, because having a boss that drops high quality loot and legendaries, it ends up double dipping on this sort of loot aspect, and they want loot to feel a little bit more varied. If you're here and you're farming the boss, you're here with a purpose. Your goal is to get their unique legendaries, and this boss itself has unique legendary class mods as well as multiple legendary weapons. We were actually able to find quite a few of the legendary class mods as well as the legendary shotgun that it ends up dropping. I'll make a video going over that in a little bit, but you might be able to see a little bit of the gameplay here. I really do enjoy the aspect of farming inside of Borderlands 4. Like, it feels authentic, you know? That's really all I got for you, you know? Like, there's a lot more that I want to talk about for Borderlands 4, but I've yapped your ear off for long enough. Be sure to be here for the next Borderlands 4 video, where we're going to be going over a lot of different mechanics and a lot of different changes that are going to be inside of Borderlands 4. As always, thanks for watching my video. I really appreciate that, and I will see you all in the next video, everyone. Later.